Hi, folks. I'm that guy. Yeah, I'm that guy. Welcome to the Dynamics 365 Secrets Unveiled channel. In this video, I will guide you through the process of setting up your personal options. So why bother setting up your personal options in Dynamics 365? In this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you want to make this adjustment now. So let's get started. All right, we're going to walk through setting up your personal options in Dynamics 365. Navigate to the gear at the top, select Personalization Settings. You're going to come into the Personalization Settings, and we're not going to focus on every tab that's in here, but we are going to talk about a couple of them. First of all, the General tab. You want to make sure that you have a couple things set. First of all, the default is 50 records. I want you to change that to 250 records per screen on the default pane. So you're on the General tab, default pane. If you want, you can change this to sales or another area. For the most part, your user role that you're given or the app access that you're given will take you to the right screen. But you can say, I want to go to sales and specifically to accounts, let's say, or to opportunities whenever the screen loads. I just usually leave that just right to the default. This used to matter. Set the default advanced find mode. In the new unified interface, it really makes no difference. Simple and detailed just means you had a couple extra clicks. I just leave it now. You don't have to do anything with it. Default search experience, just leave that to Dataverse search or whatever the setting is that comes up for your default. It's an administration area for how you want to search it, whether it's relevant searching, categorization searching. You can configure all that. But in the new version, you can just leave that to database search and it should work just fine for you. And that's on the global search, by the way. Next is time zone. Set your time zone up for where you are. If you're on the West Coast, put it to the West Coast. It makes a difference based on transactions are done in the user's local time. So you want to make sure you have it correct, set to your correct time zone. And that's it for the General tab. Next tab, you can go through, we're going to look at the activity ones. You can set your start time. So if your start time is, a lot of times the default, I think, is like 12 a.m. So you want to set that to, when's my start time here? So we're going to say 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. or something. Okay, next up, I'm going to go right to the email tab. So there's a couple reasons you want to get this one set, and you got a couple of kind of weird options that you may not understand. So the first one is allow other Microsoft Dynamics 365 users to send emails on your behalf. I know it's a scary sounding setting, but it's there for a reason, and that is I use that a lot for workflows. A lot of times I get asked by a sales manager, I want to know when a user creates a new opportunity that's worth more than $50,000, and I want the email to come from, I want to get notified from it. So I can either set the workflow up to come from a generic user with a mailbox, or I can have it come directly from the user. So Joe creates an opportunity. When he creates an opportunity, the email comes from Joe to the sales manager. It won't work if we don't have that set on. It won't go out unless I set it using a generic user, which I do a lot of times, but sometimes I like to have that come directly from the user for certain types of transactions. So for some users, if I have workflows running, I turn that on. You might want to check with your administrator. For now, you can leave it off, but if all of a sudden your emails, people aren't getting notified, well, that's why. That means that, when a new user is set up, if you don't have that set up and the emails are coming from that user based on the workflow, that's why. Next area that is kind of confusing is this whole tracking methodology in Dynamics. So let's just run through a couple of them. All email messages, meaning when you set it to that, it'll look at the Exchange inbox for yourself, and it'll track your email messages back to Dynamics if it finds a match. Technically, all emails will just do that. It'll track email messages to your sort of inbox profile. Next is email messages in response to a Dynamics email message. In response to a Dynamics 365 email. So what this is if you send an email from Dynamics and they respond to the email, it's going to track it on outbound, but it's going to keep tracking the thread is what's going to do, either based on a token or the subject. I'm not going to cover any of that in this video, but there are methods that we use to track that email. Next is the email messages from Dynamics leads, contacts, and accounts. So this one looks at the email address. If the lead has an email address or the contact has an email address or the account, it's going to look at that. And if the email address on the inbound on your inbox matches that, it's going to track it. Okay. That gets said a lot that way, but I'm going to come back to that one in a minute. Email messages from Dynamics 365 records that are email enabled. So you can actually specifically enable records that will track and not others. If you got a big database, that's kind of hard to do if you want, but you can go through and say these specific ones get tracked, these other ones don't. And no email messages, which is what I set up now 80-90% of the time. However, let's go back to this other one here. This one looks like a great idea, and it is. Except a lot of companies, what they do is they go in and they put in their company name in it. So, ABC Corp says, oh, well, I might as well put our company in there in the accounts and then put all of our contacts in the company, meaning all of our employees in. So they go and put everybody in there, even non-users, users, the whole bit. So when they have this set up, and they get an email from that particular, even if it's a user, or let's say it's a non-user, what it does is it actually tracks that email back to their contact account. Now, it could be a confidential email. So if you were to go, let's say the HR person isn't a CRM user, and they sent an email to you, and you have that tracking turned on, and it's about one of the employees, well, all you need to do is go look at that contact for the HR person that you set up that matches the email address. Now you're going to see that confidential email. So it works great if you just remember not to put in the your actual company domain. If you do, you can write a workflow that removes it. I've done this for a whole bunch of customers that wanted, they want to use that feature, and it is kind of a cool feature to automatically track it. Although now with the Dynamics 365 new app, it works a lot better. You don't really have to have that on. Because you can manually track it too, right? And you can do all that. So I set mine to no email messages for the beginning. If you have a scenario that you may need it, then change it. Next is create contacts. So create contacts, I don't like it. I don't like to automatically create any data in the system. What I do is I turn that off and just say, hey, if I got a new contact, I'll set them up, right? You could create that from the email. When you track the email, it'll create the contact for you. It'll put the first name and last name, possibly the email address. But you still got to set up the address and all that stuff anyway. So I just turn that off. Next is show emails as a conversation on the timeline. Yes, I want to see the ones that I do track. Okay, so there's the settings that I set up most of the time. I do turn this off if I don't have any workflows running, or, it really depends. That's really an internal policy type thing. But if I have workflows running and I want it to come from a user, I turn it on. Okay, so that being one of the most important ones is emails. Privacy, I like to just turn that off and just say, no, don't even ask me to send a report to Microsoft, just keep it off. And, there's a language tab. So if you have different languages, if you're multinational and you have offices in Europe and across the world, you could actually install language packs, and the user can choose a specific language. In this case, I only have English in mind for this. And really, that's the basis of setting up your personal options. If you found any value out of this video, please give me a like and subscribe down below. It does help the channel, and it helps me make more content for you. So thanks again, and please feel free to browse through the other videos that we have.